Welcome to Belly Button Window and the Jimi Hendrix story. As you've never heard it before, with new episodes posted weekly, please subscribe for the latest updates. The European Tour. March 1967 saw the Jimi Hendrix Experience cross the Channel to mainland Europe, specifically France, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg, and a few performances at the Hamburg Star Club in Germany. It had become apparent to all concerned that the band was taking off in Europe, and from that point on, they would spend as much time there as anywhere else, except ultimately for the United States. As we shall see from the band's touring schedule, for March of 1967, Jimi Hendrix and the Experience were hot property, as over the course of March, the group performed for 27 of the 31 days, playing at 17 separate clubs and venues, often with multiple performances, such as was the case at the Star Club in Hamburg. In between there were radio and magazine interviews and press photographs. They mimed 9 TV engagements, reluctantly it should be pointed out, attended 12 press receptions, and still managed to rehearse and record in the studio on 3 separate occasions. All this while they crossed the English Channel 6 times to fulfill their concert commitments. Astonishingly, only as recently as December 1966, the band had a total of 5 paid gigs for the month, and that included the New Year's Eve, which was at Noel's local pub. One other striking observation of the period is the small concert fees earned by the group, due to Chas Chandler's direct management approach, which meant getting the band performing in front of crowds, confident that they would dazzle audiences and boost record sales. However, to do this, Chas entered into numerous performance contracts ahead of time, which in retrospect turned out to be exceedingly low, or rather less than what they could otherwise command, and contracts that were difficult to exit. Mitch recalls the European tour. According to Mitch Mitchell, "We did become very big in Europe very quickly. The word seemed to spread in a very short space of time, which was surprising for all of us. Aside from the Johnny Halliday tour, Jimi hadn't worked in Europe at all. Noel had to a limited degree. He'd played in the German clubs as a teenager, as every British band did, but it was his first real exposure to a larger crowd. I'd done quite a few of the Swedish and German gigs before with the Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames, so I knew most of the venues." Mitch went on to say that most places in Europe that we hit, we did broadcasts, even if that meant getting up at the crack of dawn and going out and miming to your latest record in a field while it was snowing. We used to think, what the hell are we doing this for? But obviously it paid off in terms of publicity. The thing that always amazed me with the German fans was how much information they knew about us. They knew stuff about Jimi from years back, not just the standard press release info. And when asked to describe the venues they played at, Mitch added, "Most of the places we played in Europe were small theatres. There were no real blues clubs. I don't think they existed as they did in England. We did do a couple of really weird gigs on the outskirts of Paris, though. They were almost like biker bars, really awful places. I don't know about those, but a lot of our early European gigs came from promoters seeing us at the early London showcase gigs." The March tour schedule. On the 1st of March, the band rehearsed and recorded at Kingsway, including Bob Dylan's Like a Rolling Stone. According to Noel, it was difficult to get a good bass sound. Later, the Experience performed at the Orchid Ballroom in Purley, Surrey, earning £154 and 14 shillings. The 2nd of March saw the Experience film 2 numbers in the Marquee Club for a German TV program, Beat Club, for which they were paid £185. After appearing on Beat Club, the Experience returned to Paris for the first time since their appearance at the Olympia the previous October. On this occasion, however, and without Johnny Halliday on the bill, it wasn't exactly a triumphant return. On the 4th in Paris, the Experience did 2 radio shows, which coincided with the French release of the single Hey Joe. And that evening saw the Experience performing a concert at Faculté de Droit d'Assas graduation ball with the band The Pretty Things. In relation to the graduation ball, Mitch Mitchell recalled the following story. "We also did a graduation ball in Paris in March 1967, a really plush place. There was an Oompa band on before us, and they would not leave the stage. I remember one of the roadies, in an act of desperation, pushing the trombonist's slide back into his mouth, blood everywhere, up and down the stairs, all over the place. It got completely out of hand, so we left the gear and got the hell out. On the 5th of March, Hendrix, Mitchell and Redding performed at Mouscron in Belgium, followed by a gig in Lille, France, earnings £300. On the 6th, they mimed Hey Joe for TV in Brussels. The 7th saw them mime 2 songs for Brussels TV at Waterloo in Belgium. On the 9th, back to England for a performance at the Skyline Hotel in Hull, paid £200. The 10th saw the group perform at the Club A Go Go, Newcastle upon Tyne, a venue owned by no other than their manager, Michael Jeffrey, payment £250. On the 11th, they performed at International Club Leeds, where, after witnessing the Experience's sound check and fearing the group was too loud for his venue, the club owner paid Jerry Stickles and told them to go home, payment £51. On the 12th, the Gyro Club, Ilkley. Much to the surprise of the owners, fans packed the small club. It was estimated 900 people turned up, and with the hotel only licensed for 250, the local police stopped the gig due to safety concerns, or more specifically, the overcrowding violated the fire regulations. Payment £60. Amsterdam TV. The 13th saw the Experience cross the Channel, this time Amsterdam, to do a session for Dutch TV. On the 14th, Amsterdam TV and press reception, where they mimed Hey Joe and Stone Free for the fan club program. Payment for the Dutch sessions £140. In relation to Amsterdam, authors Harry Shapiro and Caesar Glebeek wrote the following. Like everywhere he went, Jimmy caused any numbers of heads to turn. A tall black guy with Indian features and afro hairstyle, wearing a Victorian military jacket with gold buttons and threads. Not exactly a common sight on the streets of Amsterdam, and in relation to the TV appearance, they provided the following anecdote. The band were there to record a TV show fan club. They played so loud that the staff fled the studio, and plaster came down from the ceiling at the Hotel American, some 50 yards away. Jimmy refused to turn it down, so was told he would have to mime Hey Joe instead. Jimmy was outraged at such a suggestion and stormed out. He later returned to do the show. The producer convinced he had Jimmy's agreement to toe the line. Wrong. The cameraman had specific instructions to focus exclusively on Jimmy's head, showing him eating his guitar. The female announcer duly announced Jimmy as the guitar eater, and Jimmy stood there hardly moving at all. He did Stone Free, and then walked straight off and out of the studio, on his way to play and get drunk at the home of underground writer Simon Vinkenoog. The 15th entailed photos, before flying back to London, interviews and more photos. The 16th, 3 interviews, and a press reception at the Speakeasy for the launch of Track Records. The 17th saw the band leave England once again, this time for a whirlwind 7-day tour of Amsterdam and Hamburg, where the Experience packed the latter's Star Club, made famous by the Beatles and their outrageous early shows there. In Hamburg, a press reception followed by 2 shows at the Star Club, earning £200. At the same time, Michael Jeffrey left for New York to confirm a deal Johannan Vigoda had struck for the Experience with Warner Brothers Records. Jimmy the Star Club and Germany. From March 17th to March 20th, 1967, Jimmy performed at the Hamburg Star Club. 2 performances per day, earning £200 per day, and, at the time, Hendrix had already released 2 singles in England. Hey Joe Stone Free reached number 6 in the UK single charts and only number 21 in Germany, while the second single, Purple Haze /51st Anniversary, was released at the same time as his Star Club commitment, which made it to number 3 in England and number 17 in Germany. But he was still a relatively unknown artist in Germany. Mitch Mitchell, talking about the Star Club, Hamburg, Germany. The Germans in particular seemed very receptive. We did the inevitable Star Club in Hamburg early on, but not the 6 shows a day routine. We just did a Friday, Saturday and Sunday night stint. We didn't have to do the whole matinee thing. The Star Club was winding down a bit by then anyway. Mitch goes on to relate the following story. There was an Israeli band on who were doing the full 6 weeks, 5 shows a day deal. They were a sort of Beach Boys harmony cover band. Anyway, it was their last night while we were there, and during their final break we retuned their guitars up 1 octave. Obviously, they had just rushed back, grabbed their guitars, bang on stage. It was as though someone had tightened their jock straps. He laughed. Jimmy befriends photographer Günter Zint. While in Germany, noted photographer and author Günter Zint, who accompanied Hendrix during these days in Hamburg, documented the Jimi Hendrix experience with a highly acclaimed series of photographs. On March 17, 1967, the second single, Purple Haze, 51st Anniversary, was released, which, in contrast to its predecessor, was written by Jimi and focused more on Hendrix's guitar playing. One of the pictures from those sessions ended up on the German single cover of Purple Haze/51st Anniversary. In an interview, Günter Zint recalled the following. "I first met Jimi in early 1967 when I was supposed to photograph him for the Metronome Record Company to make him known in Germany," he said. The first photos were taken at a press conference for the German single release of Hey Joe in the Hamburg restaurant Danny's Pan. He goes on to say, "In the Auto Hotel on Linkenstrasse in St. Pauli, where he was staying, Hendrix was not allowed to listen to loud music. When he came into our photo studio, he saw a stereo and a couch. His reaction, 'I'm not going back to that shit hotel, I stay here.' So I got a subtenant for a weekend." Zint's images document the many faces of Jimi Hendrix. At times he was the extroverted rocker on stage, then the shy young man at a press event, or the cool pop star. Günter Zint and Jimi Hendrix were almost the same age, two young men who were interested in music and art and who, despite their very different backgrounds, quickly bonded with each other. "We talked as equals, and Jimi was rather shy and reserved when he wasn't holding a guitar," he recalled. When asked if he had seen or heard of Hendrix's superstar potential back then, Zint commented, "At least it was the first guitar music that really fascinated me. His guitar playing was very new and extraordinary, and I noticed it immediately." And Jimi not only mastered the guitar, he also made the Marshall amplifiers and boxes and the PA system his instruments. These own sounds and the feedback were part of his success. Yes, his gigantic career was pre-programmed with it. The end of March. Still in Hamburg, the 20th of March involved a photo session followed by a flight to Frankfurt, then on to Luxembourg. The 21st, interviews on Radio Luxembourg, then on to Brussels and then back to London. The 23rd, a photo session followed by gig at Guildhall in Southampton, payment £175. The 25th, a performance at the Starlight Room, Gliderdrome, Boston, Lincoln, payment £300. Noel Redding related that Roger Taylor of Queen first saw the Jimi Hendrix Experience at this gig, and that he claimed it was the loudest band he'd ever seen. The 26th, a performance at the Tabernacle Club, Stockport, payment £100. The 27th, BBC TV Manchester, on the Simon D Show with Kiki D, Lance Percival and Cat Stevens, payment £94 and 4 shillings. The 28th performance at Market Hall, Aylesbury, payment £175, and a radio performance for the Saturday Club playing Killing Floor, Fire and Purple Haze live, payment £34. The 29th, the group recorded 3 songs at Kingsway. The 30th saw an appearance on Top of the Pops, BBC TV, London, payment £21. And the last day of March the 31st, recording followed by a press reception to launch the start of the Walker Brothers tour, 2 shows per night, earning £100 per show, with the first show at the London Astoria, famous for being the first time Jimi sets fire to his guitar on stage. The London Astoria gig, and Jimi sets his guitar on fire. The 31st of March saw the first of what would be a month of performances where the Jimi Hendrix Experience supported the Walker Brothers on tour, and also featured Cat Stevens, Engelbert Humperdinck, the Californians, the Quotations, with MC Nick Jones. As the story goes, while the Experience waited to perform at the Astoria, Hendrix and Chandler discussed ways in which they could increase the band's media exposure. When Chandler asked journalist Keith Altham for advice, Oldham suggested that they needed to do something more dramatic than the stage show of The Who, which involved the smashing of instruments. Hendrix joked, "Maybe I can smash up an elephant," to which Oldham replied, "Well, it's a pity you can't set fire to your guitar." Chandler then asked road manager Jerry Stickles to procure some lighter fluid. During the show, Hendrix gave an especially dynamic performance before setting his guitar on fire at the end of a 45-minute set. Noel Redding recalled Jimmy's performance as follows. On the first night, Keith Oldham had the idea of setting Jimmy's guitar alight during the song fire. It was the most dramatic moment of the night. Even the Walkers, who were England's biggest sex symbols, paled by comparison. It was more than just drama for us, though. Jimmy had a terrible time getting the lighter fluid to catch. Tour manager Tito Burns freaked. Screaming, he grabbed the guitar and hid it under his coat to be used as evidence against us. Redding went on to say, "Having got the public and the press's attention, we really began to push that flash act we had been working on. The other groups began to notice Jimmy's amazing stage presence and bizarre antics like rolling around on the floor, which knocked out audience after audience and made the rest of the show seem, if not forgettable, then certainly nothing you'd discuss on the way home." He added that if Jimmy did a sexy bit one night, Tito, the tour manager, would be tackled by the theatre managers and we'd be told, "Clean it up or else." Not surprisingly, he went on to say, petty things began to happen, such as the house lights would be turned up full mid-set, or Jimmy's guitar would be found untuned just before we walked on stage. Stay tuned for future episodes from Belly Button Window, including the Walker Brothers Tour, the Scandinavian gigs, the release of the first LP, Are You Experienced, the recording and meaning of songs, and Jimmy in his own words, plus much, much more. Remember to subscribe to this channel, as your support is what keeps us going. Cheers!